What's up everyone, it's Bones here. In today's video, I'll be going over the second of 3 new archetypes coming in Amazing Defenders in just a little bit over a week. But before I begin, if you happen to enjoy content like this, clicking on those thumbs up and subscribe buttons would be greatly appreciated, as it goes a long way in supporting the channel and shows me that you like content like this. Now, this first replay I'll be using for the purpose of introducing you to the cards in the archetype before I go on to the next replays with the combos. But I also want to talk about Naganaki here, why it's in the deck if you don't happen to know why it is, and kind of my love-hate relationship with the card. I also won't be using the Piri-Raise map or anything like that in this hand, as the point is to just familiarize yourself with the deck. So the first card that we have here is the main monster of the deck, and it's Rescue Ace Hydrant, and it reads, while you control a Rescue Ace monster other than Rescue Ace Hydrant, your opponent's monsters cannot target this card for attacks. Also, your opponent cannot target this card with effect. You can only use each of the following effects of Rescue Ace Hydrant once per turn. You can activate one quick play, spell card, or trap card set by your Rescue Ace card's effects the turn it was set, which is very relevant in this deck. And during your main phase, you can add one Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand, except Rescue Ace Hydrant. Then we have Rescue Ace Fire Attacker, which is a level 6, and it reads, if a Rescue Ace monster other than Rescue Ace Fire Attacker is normal or special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a card is added to your opponent's hand except by drawing it, you can draw 2 cards, then discard 1 card. You can only use each effect of Fire Attacker once per turn. The third card here, Rescue Ace Impulse, and it reads, during your main phase, you can choose one effect monster your opponent controls with the highest attack, your choice if tied, and neither player can activate that monster's effects on the field this turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card from your hand or field, special summon one machine Rescue Ace monster from your deck. You can only use each effect of Impulse once per turn. So now we'll put these cards to use, as we're going to normal summon the Rescue Ace Hydrant, and then we're going to special summon the Fire Attacker off the normal summon of Hydrant, and then we can use the Hydrant effect in order to net ourselves a search, which we're going to chain the Impulse to, and this is what I want to show here, as we're going to special summon the Fire Attacker, and this is really relevant to any deck that has a Stratos that you can chain the Impulse to, which the Hydrant is going to resolve as soon as we summon the Fire Attacker, get ourselves a search, which we get the boss monster here, which I'll read in a moment, but we're going to get the effect of Fire Attacker and draw 2 here, which we then have to pitch 1, so we'll pitch the map. Now, the boss monster here is Rescue Ace Turbulence, and this is a level 9, which reads, you can banish 2 Rescue Ace cards from your graveyard, special summon this card from your hand. During your main phase, you can set up to 4 Rescue Ace quick play spells and or normal traps with different names directly from your deck. If another card you control leaves the field by an opponent's card effect, you can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. You can only use each effect of Turbulence once per turn, so a very great boss monster for this deck, as it just can net you a load of advantage, and it's relatively easy to summon. As you see, we already have 2 bodies on board. But instead of continuing the turn here, I'm actually just going to pass so that we can talk about the Naganaki now, which it competes with the normal summon of the Hydrant, but it also does give you an extra body, as it does summon a machine from deck as long as you tribute a monster with a higher level than it, and also what you special summon has to have the same attack and defense, which Hydrant is 0/0. But the important thing is that it gets you a search. So we're going to continue the turn here by summoning the Naganaki, tributing the Fire Attacker, and then we can bring out the Hydrant. The Hydrant special summon will then prompt the Fire Attacker, as we're going to special summon that, use the Hydrant, and then we can search ourselves the Air Hoister here, which is a level 4, and it reads, if this card is normal or special summoned, you can add 1 Rescue Ace spell from your deck to your hand. When your opponent activates a monster effect on the field, quick effect, you can tribute this card from your hand or field, special summon 1 Rescue Ace monster from your hand, except Air Hoister. You can only use each effect of Rescue Ace Hoister once per turn. So now, we're going to link away the Gizmek and the Fire Hydrant for the Masquerena, as this is how you're going to get your Turbulence. And I want to point out that if you didn't have the Fire Attacker, it really didn't matter, because you would have the second name in the graveyard from either the impulse or the fire attacker that you tribute off the Naganaki. And I would also like to point out that depending on the matchup, and depending on the turn, because if you're going turn 2, you may want to keep Fire Hydrant. Turn 1, the Fire Attacker might be more convenient. But take what you see in this replay with a grain of salt. I just kind of want to show the interactions while also going over the effects before I go over the combos. So now we're going to special summon the Turbulence and then use its effect here to set 4 from our deck, as I'm going to read them over now. And this one is Rescue, a quick play spell, and it reads, this card is always treated as a Rescue Ace card. Target 1 Rescue Ace monster in your graveyard, or if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant, you can target 1 monster in your opponent's graveyard instead. Special summon it to your field. You can only activate 1 rescue per turn. Then we have Alert, and this card reads that this card is always also treated as a Rescue Ace card. Add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your graveyard to your hand. Or if you control a Rescue Ace Hydrant, you can add 1 Rescue Ace monster from your deck to your hand instead. You can only activate 1 alert per turn. So as you can see, the importance of Hydrant not only being a Stratos, but giving you stronger effects with your spells and traps is very key to this deck. So now I'll read over Extinguish, which is the first of 2 normal trap cards here. And if you control a Rescue Ace monster, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls, destroy it. And if you control Rescue Ace Hydrant this turn, your opponent cannot activate the effects of the destroyed monster or monsters with the same original name. Then Contain reads, this card is always treated as a Rescue Ace card. If you control a Rescue Ace monster, target 1 effect monster your opponent controls. This turn, that effect monster cannot attack. Its effects are negated. Also, if you control a Rescue Ace Hydrant, it cannot be used as material, Fusion, Synchro, Exceed, or Link Summon. So a very powerful secondary effect there, even further highlighting the importance of Hydrant. But now that I've gone through all the important cards, really, I'm going to take you guys to the combos. So this first combo is a 2-card combo with Rescue Ace Hydrant and Fire Attacker. And this basically gets you into your big level 9, and it's probably the most seen Rescue Ace combo by now, as we're going to use the Hydrant to search the Turbulence. Then we can link away into Masquerena, use the Turbulence to banish the 2 from the graveyard, and then set the 4 spell traps from our deck, while also having the IP for the Unicorn here, with the Turbulence and 3 cards still in hand. Now, for this second combo, I'm going to be showing the same exact thing, except we have Ecclesia, as you can see here, and the point of this combo is basically to show you the same thing, except the importance of the Dogmatica package and why you may consider playing it. So, like our previous combo, we're going to normal summon the Hydrant, special summon the Fire Attacker off the normal summon, use the effect of the Hydrant, search out the Turbulence, then we can link away into the Mask, go into our Turbulence by banishing the 2 from the graveyard, set 4 off the Turbulence, and then we can special summon the Ecclesia from our hand, and then we can use its effect as we add a Fleur, or you can even add Punishment, as we still have 1 open zone in the spell and trap zone. Now, for the final combo, and I know that this is really linear for the combos and kind of short, and it's because the deck is kind of straightforward, whereas the main monsters that you have are Hoister and Impulse outside of the Hydrant, the Turbulence, and the Fire Attackers, and their use is basically just getting you extra bodies on board, as you saw in the very first replay. But what I want to showcase here now is actually the Rescue Ace Headquarters field spell. And it reads, while your opponent controls a monster, Rescue Ace monsters you control gain 500 attack and defense. During your main phase, you can normal summon 1 Rescue Ace monster in addition to your normal summon set. You can only gain this effect once per turn. Once per turn, you can target 4 of your Rescue Ace cards that are banished and or in your graveyard, shuffle them into the deck, then draw 1 card. So as you can see, the important part here is the extra normal summon, as we're going to start this turn by activating the field spell, and then we can normal summon the Hydrant, getting us a search. And now we're going to use the extra normal summon of our field spell to get the Air Hoister, and we can also use the Fire Attacker, chain blocking the Air Hoister, which will allow us to get a search here for the Alert, as in most scenarios you're probably playing only multiples of this, unless you're playing multiples of the Turbulence, but the point is that because we have Fire Hydrant on board, this is going to make up for the search that we had to use for the Fire Attacker to get us the extra body so that we could keep the hydrant on board for the turbulence, allowing us to set up a bigger board, and a better board overall really, as we're going to use the alert to search out the turbulence here, link away into Masquerena with the air hoister and fire attacker, keeping the hydrant on field, and then we can set 4 with the turbulence, keeping us with 2 cards in hand, having the field spell to give our monsters an attack and defense boost, along with possible recursion if you get 4 cards in the banished and graveyard. So I'm going to actually show that you can activate one of the quick plays here, which if we had an opponent, we can actually use one of the traps so that we can keep 4 cards in the graveyard and then use that draw effect. But I just wanted to show this so that you remember the hydrant effect that allows you to activate the quick plays or traps that you get off of turbulence. So it's not much for the combos, but I do hope to provide some cute options that you may want to play in this deck. As you see, I'm only on 1 Turbulence and 1 Gizmek, and my reasoning for this is that if you play multiple Turbulence, you're committing to playing multiple rescues, multiple extinguishes, and multiple contains. Otherwise, there's no reason to play the 2 Turbulence. And when you consider all the deck space it takes for 2 Turbulence, I just think it's too much. And then as far as the 1 Gizmek goes, it's the fact that it competes with the hydrant. The effect is still good, but the problem is that it kind of does require you special summon just a machine, while also having to tribute a machine, meaning that the only way that you can really get this off is with Fire Attacker and Rescue Hydrant. So I just didn't like the idea of playing more than 2. Now for the pure build, as you can see, I kind of went with the most standard route. I put the Ash Blossoms, the Crows, and the Imperms here because of Small World. I know some people like to play Small World. I'm playing the Piri because I do think the Hydrant is just too important, and not having to finish a card is also kind of nice. If you do play Small World, then of course you can play Ash and other hand traps. And I'd also like to talk about Horse Prince here, and this is a cute level 6 option you have, which if you play Ash, the synchros here are kind of just for normal summon plus whatever rescue ace you have. Armory Arm being for your Hydrant, the Horse Prince being for your Impulse, which allows you to get another copy of Impulse as well. There's the Black Rose for the Hoister, the Croco for the Fire Attacker, and the Final Sigma for the Turbulence. Another thing I would like to point out is I've also seen people play Isolde. As you see, there's a copy of Durandal here. This is something that you can do if you want to extend a little bit more. You can theoretically also play more copies of Durandal. I just didn't think it was necessary, though still worth going over, as I've also even seen an Infernalbo build with the Rescue A stuff, but I didn't want to go too much into that, because I feel this is a theme that works better on its own. Fearless and Extravagance are 2 other options that you have here, as your deck is full of machines. For the most part, as Impulse and Hoister are warriors, but the Fire Attacker, the Hydrant, Gizmek, and the Turbulence are all machines. It is an option that you can play, and then another thing that you can do is you can play an Extravagance type build, which I'm going to go over another build later on, which I'll talk more about that. And then I just want to go over 2 other level 6 options if you don't want to play the Horse Prince to get out another copy of Impulse, which I totally get because this is more of a swing for game thing and removal is always nice. So to go over the card by card here, I have the 1 Turbulence, the 3 Fire Attacker, the 3 Air Hoister, the 3 Impulse, the 1 Naganaki, the 3 Fire Hydrant, the 3 Ash Blossoms, the 3 Crows, 1 Rescue, the 3 Alert, the 3 Prosperity, the 3 Piri, the 1 Durandal, the 1 Rhoda, the 1 for 1, the 1 Called by the Grave, the 1 Headquarters, the 1 Extinguish, the 1 Contain, and the 3 Imperm to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have Underworld Goddess, Appaloosa, because as you can see, you can kind of spam monsters randomly when you have Air Hoister and Impulse giving you bodies on board during your opponent's turn, or on turn 0. And then there's the Access Code, Unicorn, Masquerena, Hida, and Dark because we have Crow. Then another option that you can play is the Iris Swordsman, which is basically for Baguska. The Sunlight Wolf, which is an option I haven't seen much, but I do think it's kind of cute. You can recur resources from the graveyard. and then the Anima for your Hydrant, the Final Sigma, the Croco, the Black Rose, the Horse Prince or any of these, and the Armory Arm to round out the deck profile. To the second version, and I do think that this is the better version because you do have more interruptions through the Fleur and the Punishment. El Nadir being sort of an engage with Garura is also nice, and also having a pop with Entis. As you can see, our Rescue Ace lineup is pretty much the same with 1 Turbulence, 3 Fire Attacker, 3 Air Hoister, Impulse, 1 Fleur, 3 Ecclesia, 3 Fire Hydrant, 3 Ash Blossoms, 1 Gizmek, the 3 Nadir Servant, the 3 Prosperity, the 3 Piri, the 1 Rhoda, the 1 1-for-1, the Headquarters, the Rescue, the 3 Alerts, the 1 Extinguish, the Contain, and the Punishment to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck we have Underworld Goddess, Appaloosa, Access Code, Unicorn, Masquerena, Hida, Lena because of the Pragmatica package here. You're not playing any darks like in the other build that had the crows. Then there's the Final Sigma, the Baron, Omega for the Deer Servant, the Croco, Black Rose, the Horse Prince, which could be Brio or Coral Dragon, the Garura, and the Entis to round out the deck profile. Now, for the final build that I want to show, and this also covers like a deck option which is Gozen, as all your monsters are fire for the most part outside of the Gizmek. I do want to point out how this deck has some similarities to Altergeist, in which these cards are all like pseudo Conquery / Silk here. This one is sort of like Milu Seek, except it doesn't give you removal but gives you other types of utilities. This is like a Marionetter. So this is sort of like a multi-faker that lets you bring out monster from deck even if you can't special summon itself. It's just the similarities I really want to talk about because you never know what type of support cards we're going to get, and even though this deck doesn't have a protocol or a spoofing, still worth mentioning, which is also what I wanted to talk about, the Pot of Extravagance, and why that's also doable. You could switch around extra deck as 2, which I just used the same extra deck as the pure one. In this scenario, you could take out the Dark here for maybe a Topologic Trispana or something. It's not something you need to take too seriously, in my opinion. We just don't have the cards to make this version of the deck work the way Altergeist kind of could. There's also one final monster I actually didn't go over, and it's Rescue Ace Fire Engine, and it reads, if a Rescue Ace monster other than Rescue Ace Fire Engine is normal or special summoned to your field, you can special summon this card from your hand. If a monster is special summoned to your opponent's field, you can special summon 1 level 4 or lower Rescue Ace monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only use each effective Rescue Ace Fire Engine once per turn. So this card here is kind of cute. It does bring utility in the ability to bring back Fire Hydrant or Hydrant, that you can get all of the utility from that. But I don't think it's necessarily necessary. I mean, you can do something like play 1 Fire Engine, 2 Fire Attacker. They still do special summon themselves off of a normal or special summon of another Rescue Ace monster besides itself. That's all there really is to that. But onto the card by card here, we have the 1 Turbulence, the 1 Fire Engine, the 2 Fire Attacker, the 3 Hoister, the 3 Impulse, 1 Gizmek, the 3 Hydrant, the 3 Prosperity, the 3 Piri, the 1 Rhoda, for 1 Called by the Grave, Headquarters, 3 Alerts, 1 Rescue, 1 Extinguish, 1 Contain, Durandal, 3 Imperm Strikes, and the Gozens. Play around with the trap lineup if you do want to play the trap version of the deck. I would still recommend traps that you can at least kind of use second. For the extra deck, the Underworld Goddess, Appaloosa, Access Code, Unicorn, Mask, them recurring because you actually do use them. The same thing with Hida. As I said, Dark could be something else. The Code Breaker, Virus Swordsman, Sunlight Wolf, Anima, Sigma, which again, the synchros you can also take out as well. This deck doesn't have Ash Blossom, but can really still be used as banished targets for Prosperity. You really aren't spamming your extra deck like that either. Anyways, that's all I have for today's video, and if you made it this far, I hope you enjoyed and I thank you for watching. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave them down below. It's Bones, signing out.